Hey everyone, it's Jeremy Osterberg with Bick Magazine. Today I'm joined by Chad Burke, President and CEO of Economic Alliance Houston Port Region. Chad, what's been happening?
Hey, Jeremy. Well, short answer is a lot, but first I just want to say thanks for taking time to sit down and chat with me. Um, as you know, Economic Alliance is a nonprofit regional economic development corporation. Our mission is to grow the regional economy. That footprint or our membership include the 12 cities that surround the Houston Ship Channel, Harris County, Port Houston, and then about 250 private companies that do business in the port region. It's our job to work with existing and potential companies to add new capital investment to the region and to create jobs that follow that investment in the region. So, yeah, we've been very, very busy.
No, you're right, Chad, and a great preface to our conversation as we sort of define the impact of the region. Petrochemical, refining, maritime, everything that this region holds is impressive and important that we track and understand what's happening in this region. And so that's why my next question is pretty simple. Look, you just released your 2022 annual report. What are some of the highlights?
Yeah, so that's a great place to start. And let me back up 1 second. You mentioned kind of the scope and scale of that region. It is, as an economic development corporation, you're going to work with kind of the footprint that you've got. Ours is obviously petrochemical downstream manufacturing, and then all of that supply chain, import, export that goes along with that. So obviously, most of the projects that we are working on fit into that economic sector. It's the nation's, or actually it's the world's largest now petrochemical complex. It's the nation's #1 exporting port, and obviously the #1 energy port in all of the country. So to that end, what's been happening lately? Last year continued to be a good investment year for the region, and if we have a scorecard, a report card, we track. One, how many projects that we are touching, how many projects are we working on at any one time? That's our pipeline. I'll talk about that in a second. But then at the end of the year, you want to be able to say, hey, we worked on these many projects and this many came to fruition and were announced and or began construction. And this is the capital investment related with that, and this is the jobs created with that. So for 2022, our project announcements that we worked on included 3 large petrochemical projects. All put together, they totaled $1.6 billion in capital investment, a little over 100 direct jobs, which relates to somewhere around 700 indirect jobs, because of the chemical industry has a huge indirect job creator with environmental and safety and lab work and construction and all the things that go with the petrochemical industry. Those 3 projects last year included Oxy Vinyls, a new chloralkali unit, almost $1 billion investment in their current footprint. Chevron Refining, which owns the Pasadena refinery, announced a new LTO, light tight oil project to basically redesign and redevelop that entire facility, about $450 million. And then another really interesting project from one of our partners at Konica, which is a Japanese-owned company. They are bringing their new technology to the States to build a facility that manufactures biodegradable plastics. Their first customer is Frito-Lay's, the potato chip company. And so think about your potato chips bags now being biodegradable so they can successfully go into landfills and break down within a couple of weeks. So really, really interesting, unique projects that we've worked on. But it just shows a nice trend over the last now 12 years of just continuous, solid capital investment in this region and job creation in this region like we've never seen in the history of the petrochemical industry. So
Unbelievable, Chad. No, and there's more to come in a little while. I'll get into, hey, the outlook even into 2023 and beyond. It's so unfair, Chad. Every time we talk about all the accomplishments, and all we want to know is what's next, right? So
Exactly. It's like, how you gonna do this year, right?
that's also so Chad, we're in a Texas session, right? Legislative session. Key priorities socially were, border security, property tax reduction, and workforce development. And the property tax issue also plays into industry. What are some of the key legislative initiatives that Economic Alliance Houston Port Region is tracking that really impact industry?
Yeah, so in addition to infrastructure work, which our infrastructure is trying to catch up with this great investment in manufacturing. So we're making and moving a lot more products than we did 10 years ago, and we're working really hard with TxDOT and our state legislators to prioritize projects and put money into infrastructure. So that's really as top a priority as you could possibly have. But right there at 1A is the economic development tool that we have kind of in our toolbox here in Texas, is tax abatements to attract large capital investment to Texas, specifically for us, obviously the Houston Port region. Our main competitor along the Gulf Coast is the state of Louisiana. They're very aggressive. They've done a great job in really working with this from the state down, and their industry to try and attract business, because they know the economic impact, the tax impact that has long term, the job creation that has. So in our last state legislative session 2 years ago, we lost one of our tools. It was called Chapter 313 agreement, which is a tax abatement that our school districts could offer to large capital investments. And these are in excess of $100 million, very large projects. And that specific tool was not reauthorized. And so this session, working with partners at the Texas Chemical Council, the Texas Economic Development Council, the Association of Business and Contractors, our chambers of commerce across the state, a very successful large coalition has worked together to hammer out the right language and the right agreement with all the parties, including the school districts, to reauthorize a tool that will fall under now House Bill 5 is where that bill will come from, to recreate a tool that works better for us, that is tighter, that is accepted by everybody, that we don't have any problems with, so that we can continue to kind of battle and fight for those large cap projects. So that's either 1 or 1A, both infrastructure funding and prioritization, and then the economic development tool to really help attract businesses. That keeps us competitive, and competition is what we're in. We're in competition for those capital investment dollars and for those jobs. Any one of these companies, as we said, $1.6 billion that we worked on last year in this footprint that came to fruition, that's being built right now, they could have gone anywhere. They could have gone down the Texas coast. They could have gone to Louisiana. They could have gone to Mexico. They could have gone to Singapore in the Asian rim. So we have to be competitive. We have to be able to incentivize companies to build here, and then we have to help them move their product once they get here. That's the battle we're in constantly. So we're either making something or we're moving something, and we're trying to do it better than anybody else on the Gulf Coast. So that's the fight we're in.
And Chad, to add some color to what you just said, so basically House Bill 5, it's dubbed like the Texas Jobs and Security Act, and the impetus behind it is allowing school districts to enter agreements with businesses, for a long-term, maybe 10-year property tax agreements that lowers that property tax, which attracts them to the region.
Exactly. And when you can incentivize a company to do that, I mean, their ROI on these projects, whether it's a $1 billion or a $6 billion investment, is somewhere between 30 and 40 years. So if you give them a break for that first 10 years, you're still reaping the rewards on the back end of hard dollars and tax dollars, plus all of that job creation and indirect economic impact.
It's a 20, 30, 40-year outlook for these organizations.
Absolutely.
And I think that most people don't understand the fierce competition, like you said, from the state of Louisiana and other regions, right? We've seen investments in Alabama, across the Gulf Coast. It's marginal, correct? It really is marginal to who secures those relationships. And furthermore, Chad, what I'm learning is in your blue hydrogen, your hydrogen investments, a lot of your green hydrogen investments are really could potentially be sourced elsewhere. So it's even more and more important that we attract continued investment in our region as it relates to an energy expansion that we're seeing and a move to hitting climate goals.
Exactly. And we've got this year kind of look. So let's peek into the future. Let's roll that out real quick.
Yeah.
So right now we've got 23 projects in our pipeline, totaling a little over $6 billion, 6.1, $6.2 billion in potential capital investment. More and more, or increasingly, those projects are tilting towards an energy transition, if you will, hydrogen projects, carbon capture projects, advanced plastic recycling projects, those types of this biodegradable plastic project. So a lot of really, really interesting new projects with good capital investment and good job creation for this region. In fact, we're going to highlight that specifically with several of our companies at the 2023 Gulf Coast Industry Forum. Those companies have come to us and said, look, we've got significant investments in energy transition that we want to talk about, and we want to be able to highlight it at your conference this year. So we're really looking forward to that on September 21st this year.
Yeah. Anything else, Chad, on the 2023 outlook you wanted to share?
No, that's it. You'll see. We've almost got everybody lined up, but you'll start seeing speaker announcements and marketing campaign roll out in April of this year. So very excited about it. It's always been a good success. But the topics last year, we highlighted 8 specific projects that totaled over $6 billion in capital investment. And that's the type of topics that we want to talk about. That's the panels, that's the keynote discussions that we want to talk about. And we've already got several fantastic projects lined up this year for the conference. So it's going to be great.
Yeah. That's going to be this fall, Chad. Do y'all have a date for the Gulf Coast Industry Forum yet?
September 21st. Shameless plug.
I love it, man. Well, I'm going to plug some more because Ec Alliance and Economic Alliance Houston Port Region also partner on an industrial procurement breakfast that is not too far away here, Thursday, May 11th. So that's another event that we have to plug as well.
Exactly. It's those indirect jobs. It's all the contractors, service providers. How do you work with industry? How do you work with big EPCs? How do you get a piece of this pie that is growing here in the Houston Port region? So that's what we're all about.
Yeah, and what I love about that event is we kind of dig into, hey, what are these EPC firms looking for? If you're a vendor, contractor, or service provider, hey, how do you get in the door? So a great opportunity to network, and there's tremendous insight. I know we're getting our keynote speakers lined up as well. Anything you can share on that?
Yeah, we're going to get a fantastic look into how midstream meets downstream with one of the senior VPs from Enterprise Products. And that's, it's just the entire integrated system from upstream oil and gas through midstream, what happens as that midstream approaches the Houston Port region, which is really the hub for all that natural gas and crude oil coming down. So it's a fascinating peek into what's happening above us, if you will, or upstream from us, if you will, and how that affects us here in the downstream. So I'm really looking forward to it. It's always great information, really eye-opening, even to those of us kind of in the industry.
And look, you nailed it, Chad. I think for our industry, one of the biggest topics right now is exactly what you said. How do organizations look at their complete value chain?
Exactly.
Understand where they're sourcing their materials, where they're sourcing their inputs, all the way down to export. And that is how they attain and meet environmental regulations, requirements in that regard, and maximize profitability. So really good insight coming up Thursday, May 11th at the Industrial Procurement Breakfast. Hey, Chad, if people want to learn more about the Economic Alliance Houston Port region or these upcoming events and register for them, what's the website?
So it is allianceportregion.com. Just pretty straightforward, but we've got events tab there. You can register or mark your calendar for any of our upcoming events all the way out into the Gulf Coast Industry Forum in September. So
we love it. Chad, we know you're busy. We thank you so much for your time. I always enjoy hanging out.
Absolutely, Jeremy. Thank you. And thank you for what Big does. Obviously, the industry leaders when it comes to information. And you guys are the best at it, and appreciate the partnership.
Absolutely. Hey, as always, we're so grateful for our audience. Please like and share this recording with colleagues. And for more industry news, videos, podcasts, and webinars, visit bicmagazine.com. Hey, remember, everybody, it's what we do together that counts.